Am I the asshole for refusing to give up my cat, even though my fiancé is allergic? Now, I know the title sounds bad, but hear me out. Me and my fiancé moved in together in 2019. I've always been a pet person, my fiancé is not. And finally, he agreed to let me get a cat last year, provided I do all the work to take care of it. I agreed and happily feed the cat, clean the litter box, take him to the vet, etc. Shortly after we got the cat, my fiancé started having allergies. Nothing life-threatening, but he says that he has trouble sleeping at night due to a stuffy nose. He takes medicine and everything, but says that sleep is still hard. He gets about 7 to 8 hours of sleep almost every night, which is how much he slept before we got the cat, but says that he always feels more well-rested when not sleeping in our apartment. I suggested he go to the doctor to look at other options to deal with the allergies, but he won't set up an appointment. The allergies don't bother him at all during the day, so I think he just forgets about it. I am constantly vacuuming, washing the sheets, not letting the cat into our bedroom, etc. in order to try and help, but pet dander is next to impossible to get rid of. After a particularly bad night of sleep, my fiancé asked me to rehome the cat. I refused because I think it's wrong to give up an animal unless absolutely necessary, and we both made a commitment when we adopted the cat. Also, I think my fiancé's allergies are something he can live with, since he usually gets enough sleep, and I felt like he hasn't tried every option to deal with it better. The cat is also a rescue, and has been abandoned before. As a result, he is very attached to me and follows me everywhere. I would feel absolutely terrible giving him up, because I know he wouldn't do well with the adjustment. My fiancé is upset because he feels like I'm choosing the cat over him. I hate that he's not sleeping as well as he could, and I really want him to be as comfortable as possible in his own home. But at the same time, I can't imagine giving up the cat. Am I the asshole? Look, to be honest, I'm going to say you're the asshole, because this is having such a detrimental effect on his sleep and his health. If you want to solve this problem and keep the cat, it seems like one of your only options here is either get rid of the boyfriend or get rid of the cat. You can't have your cake and eat it too in this situation, and it doesn't seem like your boyfriend is going to continue to be too happy in this house if you continue to put the cat over him. So for that reason, I'm gonna go you're the asshole. Now in the comments, I'm not sure how to vote here, but I may be able to help. My boyfriend is highly allergic to cats, and I have a cat that was coming with me when I moved out. After some research, I found this food that reduces the allergens in cats. I put my cat on it about 2 months before we moved, and my boyfriend has barely had any reaction to her. She even sleeps in our bed. It's called Purina Pro Plan Live Clear. I honestly think it works, and it doesn't hurt to try. From what I read, it takes about 30 days to work, but they also have a waterless shampoo that's supposed to help. I would highly recommend it. You're the asshole. Your partner agreed to the cat before he realized that he was allergic to the cat. Your partner's health should be the priority here. By choosing the cat, you're forcing your fiancé to unnecessarily medicate himself for potentially the next 18 plus years of his life. Allergy meds don't always alleviate all allergy symptoms and are expensive. Are you splitting the cost of the allergy medication with your fiancé? Also, sometimes prolonged exposure to an allergen can worsen allergies. Does your fiancé have to be hospitalized before you decide that his allergy is bad enough to rehome the cat? You have a choice. Either rehome the cat or break up with your fiancé so that he does not have to be miserable in his own home. The partner's health is the priority, but guess what? OP can't make him go to the doctor. If it was really that big of a concern to him, why hasn't he gone to the doctor? He hasn't even attempted to explore other options. It's just, nope, get rid of this living, breathing animal that we take care of. Sure, the fiancé should go to an allergist, but as someone who suffers from allergies, including a cat allergy, the solution will most likely be stronger prescription medication or shots that may not completely mitigate his symptoms. So fiancé will still have to pay to unnecessarily medicate himself. And you're the asshole for getting a cat in the first place when you knew your fiancé didn't want one. It sucks that you're attached to it now, but you would be the asshole if you prioritized an animal's feelings over your future husband's allergies. It's not like this is your pet of 10 years and your new boyfriend wants to do away with it. He was willing to compromise so you could have a pet, but is asking for your sympathy now that it's impacting his life and his health. You're supposed to love each other. How would you feel if he disregarded something which was affecting your sleep and health because you hadn't tried everything yet, or he didn't think it was bad enough? Also, allergies often intensify when you're continually exposed to allergens. This might keep getting worse and worse for him. Our next post is by user abbreviations ANY357, titled, "Am I the asshole for correcting my fiance's friend when she said she was the reason my wife and I are together?" So I met my partner, Kat, a year ago. My friend Dan was dating her friend Meg at the time, and we met through them. Or more accurately, Dan knew that I was having a hard time with women, so he really talked me up, which led to Kat asking me out herself. She makes me so unbelievably happy that I popped the question on our anniversary. And thankfully, she said yes. Meg obviously doesn't like me. Dan has confirmed this, and Kat has admitted that, when we first started dating, Meg was actively trying to get her to break up with me. I'm obviously glad my fiancé ignored her at the time, but the idea of it still annoys me. We were having a get-together to celebrate our engagement with some of our friends and family when I overhear Meg bragging to some of my step-siblings that she introduced us, and so, hardy-ha, in a way, she's the reason that everyone was there. I went up to the group and told them the full truth, making things awkward enough that Meg made up an excuse to go home early. My fiancé is upset with me. She doesn't think that I should have confronted Meg so openly and made our guests uncomfortable over a minor white lie. She doesn't expect me to apologize, but she wants me to promise not to do something like that again. I'm still not convinced that I was in the wrong though. Am I the asshole? Look, I would say not the asshole for this one, but I do think that you going up and doing that was unnecessary, at least in the heat of the moment there. If you did make things awkward enough that Meg made up an excuse to go home early, then I feel like, in a way it's not particularly respecting your fiancé and her friend's friendship. Even though I know that you hate Meg, that's fair enough. You still have to take your fiancé's feelings into consideration in this situation, because these actions affect that friendship directly, and then it also affects her relationship with the rest of the people that were around that. So because of this, I think you could have handled this later on, or you could have just let it go and been the bigger man in this situation, but you didn't. You chose the petty option to combat her pettiness. I'm going to say that everyone sucks here in this situation. Now in the comments, Snow White Sludge says, "Everyone sucks here, except the fiancé and Dan. Sometimes you just gotta let things go. The only thing you accomplished is making people uncomfortable at a group event that was supposed to be celebrating your love for your fiancé. She was lying, yes, but what were you hoping to gain other than making her uncomfortable and disliking you even more? You were both assholes." Perfectly said. OP, tell your future wife that you won't do it again. It just means not making a scene over mild slights. Meg wasn't trashing you at your party. She was bragging, i.e. saying, that you were a good couple and you made it awkward for everyone. These people aren't going to be talking about how cute you two are, they're going to be talking about how awkward it was. You could have just let her slide and everyone would have lovely memories of your party. This is particularly important for the wedding. It's just not worth getting upset over. Instead, be happy and live your best life. I disagree. I think everyone sucks here, including the fiancé and Dan. Meg sucks for obvious reasons. OP also made the situation seriously awkward for everyone in the room when he confronted her. However, if fiancé and Dan expected OP to continue to hang out and be cool with Meg, maybe they should have kept that information to themselves. It's kinda crappy to tell OP, this girl doesn't like you and actively tried to break up our relationship, but we're gonna keep inviting her around and you need to be cool with that. Why is she invited to the celebration of a relationship that she tried to break up? Why would either of them tell OP about what she did if they wanted to continue hanging out with her? They created this awkwardness by telling OP that Meg didn't like him and actively tried to convince his now fiancé to break up with him, but continued to hang out with her. They created a bubble that was bound to burst. Even Dan, though? I read it as Dan was dating Meg at the time, implying they are no longer dating. Maybe we could at least cut Dan some slack. Sweet Dan, someone check on Dan. Everyone sucks here apart from your fiancé, and on balance, you slightly less. You could have confronted her privately, or decided to be the bigger person and let it go, but you made a scene and made things awkward. Meg sounds pretty awful, so I can see why you were annoyed, but at a party isn't the right time. I seldom ever agree with being the bigger person, and this is no exception, but correcting her in a way that wrecks the mood at your own party is a serious dick move. Not so much to Meg, but to everyone else who had to deal with the fallout, and so agreed on everyone sucks here. Not the asshole. Meg was trying to take the credit for your happiness, even though she had a history of trying to sabotage your happiness. She chose the public setting for her lie, and you ended it. Yup. While I think OP didn't have to go ham, I would have said something to clear that shiz right up too. And our next post is by user Cat's Deli, titled, "Am I the asshole for saying that someone else's kid's allergy isn't my problem and leaving a restaurant?" So to celebrate my son's graduation, and with most people around here being vaccinated, I took the family to the local hibachi for some dinner. My family of 4 sits down, and soon we are joined by another family of 4. They are nice enough, and when the time comes to order, the father says that one of his daughters has a dairy allergy and asks that her food be made without butter. The waitress says, no problem, we will make everyone's without butter. The father says her allergy isn't that serious, and as long as her serving has no dairy, it should be fine. The waitress repeats, we will make all the food at the table without butter. I say that we would like butter with ours, and she replies, sorry, at hibachi we make all of the food together, and we cannot risk her getting sick, so all of the food needs to be made without butter. I reply that we are not even together. Plus, I say you can make the food in the back. There is no rule that the food needs to be made together. The father agrees with me and says they do it all the time. At this point, the waitress says they are very busy and they can't do that. So I got up and said we're leaving because someone else's allergy should not affect my dining experience. Then went to a different hibachi restaurant 10 minutes away. My wife says that I was an asshole because I ruined my son's graduation dinner, and I should have been more thoughtful to the girl's needs. Plus, now the restaurant lost a reservation. My point is that the girl's needs could have been met in other ways by the restaurant. Plus, my son likes his butter. Look, I'm not going to say that you're the asshole in this one, I just think that's very petty, but at the same time I also agree with you. Someone else's allergies should not affect your dining experience. No one was being a Karen in this situation besides the server. I get why the server was doing what they were doing, but you can easily just say 1 table butter, 1 table no butter. Capiche? Yet the server seemed incapable of that. Now, we don't know just how busy the restaurant was, but even if it is busy, I'm sure the chefs could take the time out of their day to put 1 butter in someone's table and not in another table's dishes. And if they weren't able to do that, I do think that leaving the restaurant was the good thing to do. It stops you guys from missing out on butter, and it stops the other table from potentially having butter in their meals. So I'm gonna say not the asshole. Now in the comments, hello all, goodbye all says, not the asshole. Even the father agreed with you. The staff were just avoiding having to do 2 lots of cooking. Yeah, considering the hibachi place wasn't overcrowded, it wouldn't have been too much of a strain to accommodate both families' needs, especially with the mutual agreement. I'm going for a straight not the asshole too. Everyone sucks here, after more info below. Agreed here, but I can't help but wonder what the son was thinking about his dad making them leave during his celebration. At that age especially, I'd rather have had food without butter than my parents throwing a fit and making us leave, finding a new place and waiting longer for dinner, etc. It sounds like this is way more about the dad wanting his butter than any consideration for the son. And edit, OP mentions below that he asked the son if he minded leaving, but didn't tell us the kid's response, and that's a really loaded way to ask it in the first place. I think that tells us a lot. It's definitely all about the dad here. Seems like everyone is crappy except the other parent and daughter. Agreed with this. As the daughter of someone who would pull stunts like this frequently, I can assure you that his son's night was probably ruined. Probably the other families too, who probably felt guilty about the whole thing. Yeah, but who said he threw a fit? You can disagree without a scene. You can also leave without a scene. Honestly, that closing line about "my son likes his butter" gives me asshole vibes. I wasn't at the hibachi, I don't know how it went down, but I can imagine that Dad handled the situation in a way that he isn't innocent. If, when put in an aggravating situation, we don't act like Mother Teresa, we're an asshole? The father was irritated, and his choice of words expresses his irritation. Nothing wrong with saying that his son wants his butter, because per OP's comments, that is exactly what his son said. Some users on this forum like to nitpick and focus on the unimportant details. At the end of the day, even if the son had not said that he wants butter, the father saying that, in a moment of irritation, is not an issue. Not the arsehole. The only arsehole here is the waitress. The father of the other family was fine with all of these suggestions that you gave. I say you should also follow up with the restaurants through social media, or phone, or email. The waitress isn't the arsehole. She can't do crap about the kitchen's rules or the manager's rules. Well then, the kitchen/manager's rules just lost a bunch of money for the restaurant. I think it seems like she didn't want to tell the kitchen they had to cook a separate meal for whatever reason. Or she just thought that this was better. But it is not standard practice to change everyone's meal just because one person needs something else. I can't have any kind of meat for health reasons, and my food is always separate, but I'd be angry that the restaurant tried to change everyone else's food because of me. That's not fair to anyone. Am I the asshole for telling my maid of honor she's booted as maid of honor? So here's the story. I got engaged in December 2020 and was thrilled to start planning my wedding. I asked a close friend of mine to be my maid of honor since she knows me really well and has always talked about how much she wants to be my maid of honor. She instantly agreed, and I sent her documents explaining what I expected of her, and we discussed it on the phone as well. Pandemic, so no visiting. She was on board and everything was great. I updated her in April, May, June, and noticed that her answers seemed not excited. I would tell her we found a date and got it confirmed by the church, and she would answer, cool. I told her we were going to look at venues, and then after 3 weeks of not answering that update, that we picked a venue. Again, just a quick, awesome. I announced we're having a special ceremony in August this year, AITA/Nordic mythology wedding, just for close friends and family, as planned. Her answer? Nice. I know she had a small depression diagnosed in April and have checked in with her multiple times, making sure she's okay, which she assured me she was and talked about how she's getting better and learning to live more positive. I also made sure she was still up for the task, which she assured me she was. A few days ago, I had it. I felt like she wasn't interested in my wedding and that it didn't really matter to her. My other bridesmaids were confused because they haven't gotten any information about the wedding, which was the maid of honor's job, and wanted to make sure the bachelorette party was still on. None of my other bridesmaids had gotten any answer from my maid of honor, even though they texted her. She has also made a comment on my hair. I have a side cut, whether I wanted to wear a wig or put extensions in it, because I shouldn't have a side cut at my wedding. And when it came to dress shopping, she didn't call my best friend who was in quarantine and video the event, even though I told her I would like that. So I asked her, plain and simple, if she still wanted to be maid of honor, because I didn't get the feeling that she wanted to. She started getting mad and told me I can't expect her to know what's going on and what to do when I haven't told her what to do. Even though I had. My husband asked me if she's ever read anything I've ever sent to her, and I realized she hasn't, not even before becoming my maid of honor. So I told her that, while she was still welcome as a guest, I had to pick another maid of honor. It's a huge part with plenty of things to do, so I need a maid of honor to help and guide me. That's when she flipped and told me she wasn't coming. So I don't know. Am I slowly becoming a bridezilla? Or in other words, am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think maybe I went overboard and expected too much of her, knowing she had a small depression. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. Wait, you expect the maid of honor to communicate and set up things with your bridal party? What? The only job of the maid of honor is to help arrange the bachelorette party and give a toast at your wedding. It is your job to arrange bridesmaids' dresses, bridesmaids attending Zoom call wedding fittings, etc. She's not your employee, assistant, or wedding planner. She is your maid of honor. Also, if being your maid of honor requires written instructions, you're officially a bridezilla who expects way too much of your maid of honor. But OP is not American, and her culture has different requirements of the maid of honor, as stated in several of her comments and her edits prior to me trying to assist. OP clarified that her maid of honor asked for written instructions because in OP's culture, the maid of honor is expected to do a lot more. She gets compensated for that. They buy for her the maid of honor dress and they give her 1/10 of their wedding budget as a gift. So they would have given her over $1,000 after the wedding as a gift. It's a lot more like a job in that sense. But even in America, I would expect the maid of honor to show excitement for the wedding and be involved as much as they can in the wedding planning, etc. It's not strange at all to expect that. Not the asshole. You provided a list of what you would want her to do, and she agreed but didn't pull through. That was thoughtful to give her a list of what you would expect from her. Most brides don't even do that. Just a tip, instead of relegating those things to others, it's always easier and guaranteed to be done if you take care of it yourself. I still don't think you should have kicked her out of the wedding, maybe made her a normal bridesmaid. Resigning her to being a guest, I'm sure, was a big slap in the face. I hope you can save your friendship, and best of luck. And OP replies, well, seeing as I'm actually fighting PTSD, I wouldn't call myself blessed. I've updated my text with a list of how I handled her diagnoses because I can see that I didn't go into enough detail. I just didn't want to explain more about her mental health in public. Where I'm from, we call depressions that don't need medication that. It's a small depression, when it can be resolved without medicine and only with therapy. And not the asshole. There seems to be a misunderstanding regarding OP's post. In American weddings, the maid of honor has a role as you described. However, not everyone on Reddit, including OP, is American, and therefore a person's role in a wedding might differ depending on culture. In OP's culture and country, the maid of honor has a more extensive role, being the coordinator and in charge of the bridal party. Since the maid of honor was not a part of the same culture, she asked OP for a list of things that she would be in charge of, and OP gave it to her. In this culture, the bride is not allowed to know certain things about the bridal party because it is supposed to be a surprise. The maid of honor knew about this and received and accepted the terms of the list. I'm not a part of the Asatro culture that OP describes, but in my country, maid of honor also has a bit more to do than planning the bachelorette and holding the bouquet. She's usually helping the bride in picking out the wedding dresses, bridal dresses, hair and makeup, organizes the bachelorette, as well as acts like a sounding board for other aspects of the wedding. And OP replies, yes, thank you. I tried describing it to people, but it's difficult. The maid of honor also gets a small amount of money and has to be an unmarried woman. The money she gets is supposed to be a start for her wedding in our culture. And the maid of honor is also a bit more decorated, to show off her not married status to other guests, so she can find a partner at the wedding if she wants to. So while I'm not paying her, she's receiving a gift equivalent of $1,589. Our next post is by user Daughter Aquarium, titled, Am I the asshole for letting my daughter set up an aquarium after my fiancé and I agreed to no pets? So I, 44 male, have been engaged to my fiancé, 37 female, for about a year now. I have one 13-year-old daughter, and she has an 8-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. We have been slowly combining our little families, but we decided that it would be best if we didn't completely combine our homes until we were completely married in order to send the best message to our kids. We also agreed to not buy any pets until we were completely together, so that any animals under our roof were completely and equally all of ours. My daughter has been telling me for a little while that she wants an aquarium for her room. She's always loved watching fish swimming around in tanks. I told her that if she got good grades in her last semester and helped out around the house that she could have one. So she did what I asked, so I bought her an aquarium, the necessary supplies, and some tropical fish. She's done a great job being responsible for her aquarium so far. When my fiancé found out about my daughter's aquarium, she kind of flipped out. She said that she's been denying her kids a pet for the past year. She said that her son especially has been begging her for a puppy, but she has kept telling him no because that's what she and I had agreed to, even though she wants him to get a puppy. I think that an aquarium with fish is a completely different sort of a deal. I also think that my daughter is getting a little older and more independent, and should be given more privileges. But my fiancé seems to think I went against the agreement we had. Am I the asshole? For this one, yes. You said that the agreement was that any pets or animals under your roof were completely and equally all of ours. You intentionally went against your fiancé simply because your daughter is 13 years old, and you think that her older age gives her a right to having a pet over the other two, just because you feel like she's ready for one and the others aren't? That to me seems like it's some incredibly flawed logic, and you're absolutely at fault for this one, so yes, you're the asshole for going against the agreement you had. Now in the comments, Webby Vanderquack says, "You're the asshole. You broke the agreement. Quote, I think that an aquarium with fish is a completely different sort of a deal. I also think that my daughter is getting a little older and more independent and should be given more privileges." You could have made that case with your fiancé before getting your daughter an aquarium. It's also not fair to insist that your daughter should be given more privileges without thinking and talking through what that means for the other children. That quote just says to me the OP is well aware they screwed up, and now they're trying to justify it instead of admitting it. Pretty much the standard when someone knows that they're the asshole but doesn't want to admit it. I mean, if OP's daughter had a disability or something that required a service/guide dog, that would be one thing. Though should still be discussed as service and guide dogs can be expensive. But this is a totally different kettle of fish, pun intended. He went behind his fiancé's back and broke the agreement because he believes that his daughter deserves more privileges, just for being nearly a teenager. That's a big no-no when trying to successfully blend families. Also, it's pretty clear that not many people here have researched how hard it is to care for a tropical fish, seeing as they think that they're easy to care for. But they definitely are not. It takes more than just feeding every day and cleaning the tank every once in a while to care for tropical fish. It gets expensive too. You're the asshole. You agreed, no pets. Then you got a pet. Why didn't you talk about it and adjust the agreement instead of making a unilateral decision? This does not bode well for your impending nuptials. Look, I'm not going to judge because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have given it a second thought since I don't see fish as pets. To me, they're more like plants. Sure, you feed and water them, but they're mostly ornamental. So I would have been very shocked to have gotten yelled at for breaking an agreement. However, OP doesn't necessarily seem to be sharing that thought process. I'd take the time to learn some about tropical fish then. Fish are much more intelligent than many people assume and aren't purely ornamental, and really shouldn't be considered as such. The fish don't even remember 24 hours has even been proved untrue, and they're able to recognize their owners even. They can even be trained sometimes. That one I only know as I did a science project as a kid where I trained mollies to follow my finger around the tank. Our next post is by user EmoThrowaway2021, titled, "Am I the asshole for requiring that kids be dressed emo AF at my wedding?" So me, 31 male, and my husband, 27 male, decided that we wanted to get married. It has been delayed multiple times due to the pandemic, and my family is completely unsupportive and cut off. His family isn't super happy about the queer stuff, but they're at least civil. So we wanted to have the wedding and reception that we wanted to have. B, my husband, is hella into emo music, and has been ever since he was young. Paramore, A Day to Remember, etc. This dude lives and breathes the stuff. So we had a distinctively emo, 90s and noughties goth aesthetic for the wedding. He wore a suit that was all black with red accents. I wore the jacket from MCR's Black Parade. It was great. We decided we wanted to have an open bar at the wedding. We wanted to have a lot of queer friends come and feel free to express themselves however they saw fit. For this reason, we didn't want kids at the wedding, but understood that it's a tall task depending on the family situations. So on our save the dates, we put, children are allowed, but must be dressed emo AF. Not a joke. We figured the kids would look cool, and if they got upset or threw a tantrum during the wedding and reception, at least they would fit the emo aesthetic. Day of the wedding, B's aunt arrives with her kids dressed in bright Easter pastel suits. The relationship they have is already tenuous, and when confronted about the dress code, B's aunt said, "Already had to come to this gay wedding, I wasn't going to make my kids wear devil clothes too," which for obvious reasons did not go down well. We refused to let her in and had security escort her out of the venue, and she threw a tantrum the whole way to her vehicle. Now we're getting texts and calls from other members of B's family saying that we were awful and rude for how we treated her and her kids, that they should have been let in anyways, etc. It wasn't a destination wedding for anyone, but they still mentioned time spent driving, getting ready, etc. Both B and I held firm that this was going to be the experience we wanted, and the rest of the wedding went off without a hitch. Am I the asshole? And edit, in regards to the availability of pastel clothing, anyone near the Bible Belt can tell you that Easter Sunday is a sea of pastel clothing for all ages. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might be the asshole because turning kids away from a wedding, especially family, sucks no matter who you are. They did spend time and money to get there and get ready. That incident did also lead to more arguing within the family. Now in the comments, MountainGoat05 says, "Everyone sucks here. I think you were groomzillas for expecting a dress code that people may or may not be able to afford. However, his aunt was the much bigger asshole for what she said. As a side note, I would have coughed up the money to dress my kids super emo and would have gotten a huge kick out of it. But finding emo outfits for little kids may be cost prohibitive for some, and money can be really tight if you have small children. So expecting this from basic guests is a big ask. Emo can literally be just a black t-shirt and pants. I doubt they're expecting full-out costumes. It was crappy to show up in Easter pastel outfits, come on." Not the asshole. It's not even about the aunt not following the dress code. It's about how she had reacted. And the fact that she dressed them in bright pastel? I can't get over that. That is so far from emo. And do people really just have bright pastel suits lying around? I've never once thought about getting my sons a bright pastel suit. Should I? This bright pastel suit thing is blowing my mind. And now I'm searching for boys' pastel suits. Not the asshole. This one is getting mixed responses, and I was on the fence here. Enforcing a dress code for kids at a wedding seems really petty, but 1. They brought kids when they knew you didn't really want them. 2. They actually went out of their way to do the exact opposite of what you asked. And 3. Their reason was homophobia and some devil clothes nonsense. So that's 3 strikes in my opinion. I would have said you're the asshole if they were otherwise nice people, but they were actually trying to piss in your Cheerios with this. Going forward, I would just not invite people like that to anything, family or not. And our next post is by user Throwaway Bunch of Numbers, titled, "Am I the asshole for getting upset about bridal shower gifts?" So I just had my bridal shower near where my family lives on the East Coast. My fiancé and I live all the way in California, and prior to my bridal shower, requested that any gift purchase, with the exception of cash, be sent to our address in California. Our registry contained all sorts of things, many of which are fragile like china, wine flutes, etc. It seemed like a no-brainer to politely ask if people could have their gifts shipped to us to avoid the hassle of opening things, and then having to pack them back up and ship them to the literal other side of the country. I even suggested that people wrap up a picture of the gift so that I could open that instead. Well, the day came and I'd noticed I'd barely received any gifts at my house. I figured maybe a lot of people just decided to give cash. Nope. Most people, 40 guests total, decided to bring their gifts and had me open them in person. I was so upset that I wanted to cry. The whole time I was thinking, I had two options. Either ship all of these fragile gifts back to California, or return them all and buy them again and send them to my address. Thing is, my flight left to go back home the day after my shower. So now I'm stuck waiting on my mother to return everything for me. She said it's hundreds of dollars to ship everything, so she's just going to return it all to the companies they came from, and then I can rebuy everything. But she's not one to hustle with things that aren't about her, and told me she'll get around to it eventually. She mentioned I was overreacting about this, and that people just wanted to see me open stuff. It just sucked to feel like people just wanted to see their actual gift get opened at my shower, and didn't care how inconvenient it really was for me. I'm going to have to wait months to actually get to enjoy this stuff, and purchase all the gifts over again with all of the store credit. Am I the asshole for wanting people to send their shower gifts directly to me? Edit. This was an online registry on Zola where you can program your address into it for people to make it easier. All of these people changed my address to theirs. There was also information about why we asked for things to be shipped on our website. This was not a registry where people had to buy something at a store and then ship it on their own. I can understand where these people are coming from, wanting to see your reaction because that is the traditional and that is the normal thing to do at these bridal showers. I do think that you told them to do one thing, they ignored that, they changed the address and they went out of their way to do another thing because they wanted to get that reaction from you. That's totally fine and normal under normal circumstances, but you requested one thing, they did another. That inherently makes them the assholes in this situation. It doesn't matter if it is normal or not. You requested something and they went out of their way to not do what you asked. Sorry I've repeated that for the third time now, but it just annoys me a lot. Not the asshole OP. Now in the comments, Xylophobian says, not the asshole. You specifically requested things due to the special circumstances, and most people paid you no mind. I had a similar thing with my best friend's wedding. She specifically requested donations for their honeymoon, and we had all done a special part of the invitation explaining everything and asking that if they wanted to bring gifts, just to make them small and $5 to $10, and to make a larger gift towards the honeymoon. We even had bridesmaids who completely ignored everything and spent all of their money on big gifts. There was no registry, so all these big items were completely unasked for. It was so disappointing for her since they couldn't afford special things on their cruise, but had a 12 QT roaster. Nice. Not the asshole. I hate bridal showers. I hated my own. Sitting there pretending to be excited over a spatula, both the bride and the guests. Ugh. I am 100% of the thought that bridal shower gift is the wedding gift. So if you had to travel, a lingerie shower or a recipe shower would make more sense. My nephew, who is only a 4-hour car ride away, is getting married soon, and I shipped the shower gift to my sister's house, same city. The couple knows what I bought them because the set they wanted was discounted, so I found what was closest and got their okay. They know it's at Mum's house, and if they want, they can take it. Because that is the point, me buying them a gift. All I think is, what vanity to need to see your gift opened. If you scroll further down, OP responds to a comment with this. I actually decided I'm going to write in my thank you notes that I donated the gifts of all the people who decided to bring them in person. So yeah, you're the asshole. Am I the asshole for complaining to my wife about not getting up to feed our daughter? So last night, our daughter got up at around 2 AM to ask for a bottle. She's 2 years old and this happens almost every night. On work nights, we split who gets up to get her milk. Today, she has a day off, but she has to take her brother to the airport very early this morning. My daughter started crying for a bottle, and I ask her, "Babe, can you get that?" And she ignores me, and my daughter is crying for a few minutes before she picks up and puts her on my side of the bed. Now she's crying in my ears, and I get up pissed off, saying, "That's screwed up. I have to be up at 5 a.m. for work." So I get up and I get her bottle, and when I come back, she tells me, well, I have to be up early to take my brother to the airport. I tell her while that's not my problem, she shouldn't be going to sleep so late. I woke up at 1 a.m. to use the bathroom and she was watching TV on her phone. I told her that's my priority and it isn't fair, and I went back to bed. In the morning, I woke up and she tells me I didn't have to talk to her that way. I then respond with, while it's important that she takes her brother to the airport, my job is more important than her brother going to the airport. She then called me selfish and ignored me until I left. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might be an asshole for not being considerate that she has to take her brother to the airport early in the morning. That's fair, but she also has to be considerate that you're working early in the morning, but above all, you guys have a duty to your baby. Both of you guys ping-ponging that responsibility back and forth while she's screaming, instead of just doing something about it, shows that you guys are still very much petty and immature right now, and I'm gonna say that's having a detrimental impact on your child. Figure your things out, everyone sucks here. Now in the comments, Vault Hunter 93 says, everyone sucks here. You both sound kinda petty, to be honest. Poor kid. Being woken up every single night probably does things to you. 2 years old is enough to be slowly weaned from that habit, but OP and his wife have to put in effort to do it. A frickin' 1-year-old wouldn't need to eat at night. A 2-year-old should definitely be able to sleep through the night, and the longer they leave it, the harder the habit will be to break. Clearly, it is making them all miserable. They need to suck it up and sleep train. Not to mention giving the kid milk in the middle of the night is terrible for his teeth, and that a 2-year-old should probably be totally off the bottle, which is also terrible for his teeth. Everyone sucks here. Why are either of you still going along with this bottle nonsense? The kid is 2. You can tell them no. When my daughter was 18 months old, some of my friends found out that she was still nursing during the night. They told me I should tell her that she had to sleep through the night. So, at bedtime, I told her that she could nurse before bed, then she had to sleep all night, and then she could nurse in the morning. During the night, she woke up and said, "Nummy nuttin', please." I pretended to be asleep, and that was the end of nighttime nursing. A child with the maturity to say please, I realized didn't need a nighttime feed. I think that both OP and his wife are at the limits of their endurance, so my vote is no assholes here. Everyone sucks here. I get kind of snapping at her in the moment. It's frustrating that it was supposed to be her night to handle this, and she completely ignored you when you asked, and that she refused to help because of her early morning when you also had an early morning and she had stayed up late. But in the morning, when she told you that she didn't like the way you talked to her, you twisted it and made it a "my thing is more important than your thing" contest, which is childish and doesn't address the actual issue. Our next post is by user Bent Breadstick, titled, "Am I the asshole for asking my white mum to stop using my hair products?" So I, under 18 female, am mixed race and have very curly hair that needs special products. For years of my life, my hair always looked limp and strange because I didn't have the right product to care for it, and then I finally found some products that made my hair look like it's meant to. After a while of using this product, I noticed that it's running out quickly, which isn't great because the product's more expensive than regular products. Then I find out that my white mum, 49 female, is also using my products, even though she doesn't need to because her hair is straight and she can use regular product, which we have a lot of in the house. I then told her to stop using the product, and she told me that it's also good for her hair. I've noticed no difference, unlike with mine, but maybe it is improving her hair, I don't know, and has continued using it, continuing to dismiss me if I bring it up again. Am I the asshole for confronting her? And edit, I pay for it sometimes, but the last few times my mum bought it for me. Well, there's your problem solved. If she's buying it as well as you, and her hair is improving, like she's saying, then this is a non-issue. You're just making an issue out of nothing. I'm gonna go with you're the asshole for this one, because she's doing nothing wrong by using product that she pays for. Now in the comments, what's my username says, you're the asshole. Your mum is buying the product and you pay for it when you can. All you need to tell her is to pick up enough so you don't go without. She can use shampoo she paid for. And OP replies, yeah, didn't realize I hadn't put it in originally. Edited the post so people can see it now. Just an FYI, in case you didn't know, the special products don't need to be more expensive. It's about ingredients, not brands. Some of the least expensive products in the US do a great job on curly hair. Two I can name off the top of my head are Suave Tropical Coconut Conditioner, but not the matching shampoo, and LA Look Styling Gel. Find out which chemicals you need to avoid and read the labels. There's a reference list in the sidebar at r/curlyhair. If she's paying for it and replacing it as she uses, there is no issue here, and you're making a mountain out of a molehill. It'd be different if she left you without. You're the asshole. Seriously, who gatekeeps shampoo? Especially shampoo someone else paid for. I gatekeep my shampoo, but I pay for it. Plus, it would be of no benefit to my husband's hair. I don't gatekeep my equally expensive face wash products. I buy them more frequently than my husband. But we both purchase them, and I use them every wash, as opposed to his once in a blue moon when his skin gets weird. But yeah, if I'm paying £9 for 250 grams of shampoo, then I'm damn well gatekeeping it. There's plenty of store brand stuff in the house for my husband and guests. I think you're misunderstanding what the term gatekeeping means. It doesn't mean an unwillingness to share a particular product of your own, it means trying to dictate who is and isn't allowed to buy and use their own particular product. When you buy it, you get to say who uses it. But you did say that she bought it the past few times, so she should be able to use it as well. Personally, if it's that big of an issue for you, I would buy my own and keep it in my room, only bringing it out when I need it. That's what I do with my curly hair specific products. Yep, get a shower caddy and keep it in your room. It'll come in handy for college and later in life as well. Our next post is by user IslandLeft1698. Titled, Am I the asshole for allowing my boyfriend to be uninvited from my parents' anniversary party? So I've been dating Josh for about a year. My family doesn't like him, but honestly, they can be pretty dramatic and exclusionary. My brother has been married for 20-something years, and my mum still can't get along with her. Josh is a great guy, but honestly, he can get preachy. He's a self-identified social justice warrior. I really like passion, it is my #1 turn-on with a guy. But we previously had an issue when he told my 10-year-old daughter, who is half black, that she shouldn't be wearing braids because she doesn't know the history behind them. But he also doesn't think that she should straighten her hair because of internalized racism. My daughter likes to switch her hair up and I pretty much let her wear it however. We worked through that though. Anyway, my parents' 50th anniversary is coming up, and my older sister, Ava, is throwing them a surprise party. My family likes to do really elaborate parties, so there's usually a theme and lots of cool decorations and food. Ava wanted to do an Asian lanterns theme. Our mum is Thai, and our dad is Korean. But Josh thinks it's cultural appropriation because it is so vague and doesn't relate to one specific cultural aspect. Ava admitted she just liked the aesthetic, though it paid homage to their culture, and we could do a lot of cool food options. It's fine if Josh doesn't like it, but he kept making comments to Ava. Technically, all 4 siblings are supposed to be planning, but I'm not good at that stuff. Middle sister doesn't like parties, and my mum and brother are semi-estranged, so really, Ava is doing all the work. Ava got fed up and said that he isn't invited. I told him just to let it be and not come. I mean, he doesn't like my family anyway, and I do think it was kind of weird that he was telling us how to interact with Asian culture when he is not Asian. He says I'm not standing up for him or for our relationship. OP has offered the following explanation why they think they might be the asshole. I'm letting Ava make a unanimous decision when it's supposed to be our party. I'm not putting my boyfriend first, and maybe disrespecting him. People might ask where he is, so that might be awkward. Couples are usually a package deal, and I'm going to a pretty major event without him. Now in the comments, Peanut Buttercups 56 says, "Everyone sucks here. Your boyfriend is not a social justice warrior, he's an ass. At best, he reads partial headlines of articles and bases his statements off of that. Quote, the internalized racism straightened hair thing? What the actual? There is so much wrong with what he did here, I don't even know where to start. I mean, at least speak to the parent of a 10-year-old if you think they're doing something wrong. Your boyfriend seemingly has no understanding of black hair and the issues black people deal with because of their hair in the US. Several styles of braids exist, and just wearing braids in general is not cultural appropriation. Your daughter is half black and can wear braids or straighten her hair if she wants to. He's also wrong about the lanterns without nuance. He has no right to speak to your family about that. If you're not going to check him on his bullcrap, you're the asshole for staying with him, especially after what he said to your daughter." OP's replies say that she is not serious about her boyfriend at all. So OP, you also suck for allowing someone you have no intention of being serious to speak to your child and family like that. Not that it would ever be okay for you not to call him on this, but since you don't seem to like him that much, why are you allowing this to go on? You're right to keep him out of the party, but why are you dealing with this if you aren't serious about him? After he said that to your daughter, why bother? Boyfriend is a huge racist. Where does he get off on telling a biracial girl what to do with her hair? What makes him think he has any right to dictate how she can style her hair? The thing is, he's the kind of racist that doesn't appear racist because they present themselves as woke. There's a brand of next-gen racists who genuinely think they're socially progressive, but are just perpetuating the same damaging messages whose primary victims are POC and/or mixed heritage. Whether it's mindless Tumblr social justice parroting or intentionally malicious, it is still racism. Does Josh know that being a white savior who speaks over people of color does not give him social justice points? Not the arsehole, but he should never have been permitted to talk to your black daughter or your Asian family that way. He's so worried about social justice while trampling the voices of minorities in order to center himself. And the audacity of telling a biracial girl she can't wear braids for any reason, or an Asian family that they're appropriating anything even remotely Asian, is just mind-boggling. Not the asshole. This is not social justice activism, it's mansplaining. Is he very young or something? Nope, he's close to 40. Why would you date a man who racially harassed your daughter? OP replies to that, "She doesn't spend much time around him now, we don't live together, and I've told her that he's just an irrelevant boyfriend, never going to be her stepdad, and she doesn't even need to think about him. So I'm confused as to why you're dating this man when you don't seem to like him very much." And our next post is by user CuteCow6367, titled, "Would I be the arsehole for refusing to let my kids go on a trip that my brother planned?" So my 3 daughters are 15, 12, and 10. My brother has kids who are around the same age. My brother makes good money and likes to take my family and his on a trip every summer. This year, he wanted to go to Cedar Point for a few days. I thought that sounded fun, and I told my husband and our daughters. They were ecstatic about it, and they were talking about it non-stop. My brother called me yesterday and told me that he was able to make reservations, but there was a glaring problem. He said due to late planning, which he admitted to, the best he could do was the end of September for the trip. He said he got the rooms from Wednesday to Sunday. I brought it up to my husband and he said nope, 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 nope. The girls aren't going. He said they will not be missing school for 3 days in September just for this trip. And I agreed with him. I don't really want to pull the girls out of school for this. Now, I know they will be devastated, and I don't know how to tell them. Part of me is on the fence about it, just because I know how hurt they will be. Especially when their cousins come over and talk about how much fun they had. But my husband is standing firm and saying no. He said they will be hurt and upset, but they will get over it. Now for some background, My husband grew up with his parents who never let him miss school. He said he was sent to school with a fever multiple times. He's not that tough on our daughters. If they are sick, he understands, but he will not let them miss school for a vacation. He said maybe we can take the girls to the nearest Six Flags this summer to make it up to them. I don't know what to do. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I might be the asshole for denying my girls this awesome trip. I have friends who pull their kids out of school. It might not be a big deal, but I don't know if it's worth fighting with my husband about it. Honestly, I'm just going to be nice about this one and say no assholes here. I don't think you'd be an asshole either way, but I think the decision you should go for is letting them go on that trip. I know that your husband has a very biased perspective on this one, but he has shown leniency for them being sick. I know from my experience with school that I wouldn't care if I took 3 days off to go on a vacation that I only go on once a year. I took enough days off sick in school anyway, and it doesn't bother me. And when I give my opinions on these, they're obviously biased because this is my perspective on the situation. Some people are built different, but if it were my kids, I'd let them go on this vacation and I would communicate that with your husband about this. So I'm gonna go no assholes here. Now in the comments, Cotton Peddler says, no assholes here, but I would let them go. They will remember that you didn't, and they would remember the trip if they went. But those 3 days will be insignificant. And OP replies, this is what I'm struggling with. I do understand that missing 3 days at their age probably isn't going to impact their grades. Like another comment on here said, it is more the principle of missing school for a vacation is what my husband is against. I'm sure he knows they won't start failing because of it. It's just the principle? Come on now. Your daughters know how important school is. One vacation isn't going to give them permission to start playing hooky left and right. I think if anything, it'll discourage them from cutting class often, because they're treated every now and then by OP letting them. Like, they won't feel they need to sneak around. You're the asshole. Missing 3 days of school for a trip they're really excited about isn't going to mess with their academic performance, especially since it's at the start of the year when things usually aren't moving too quickly anyway. They can always make up work, but they can't make up fun memories with family. Besides, you already said they could go. It would be a little better if you hadn't already agreed to the trip, but they're going to be crushed if you go back on your word now after they've been looking forward to it. I missed school for vacations and family events plenty as a kid, and it never really impacted my grades. I understand that your husband's parents didn't let him take a break, but that's unhealthy and unsustainable. No assholes here, but consider letting them go. As someone who works in education, missing 3 days of school, especially if you speak to teachers ahead of time to arrange them picking up any missed work, isn't going to destroy their grades or anything. They can go, have a good time, have fond memories of the trip, and then come back and make up any missed schoolwork. And our next post is by user YeahSoThat, titled, Am I the asshole for announcing that my dad is not paying for my college tuition? My aunt and uncle are paying for my cousin's college. My dad had a college fund for me, but he had stipulations like he wanted nothing below a B for grades and to pre-approve any classes I take, weekly meetings to discuss grades, and a bunch of other stuff, which would be fine if you have a normal dad. Mine isn't. My dad has a temper, and I spent 6th to 12th grade stressed out about grades and being screamed at or grounded over things that sometimes weren't even my fault, like a teacher not updating online grading and an assignment being marked missing because of it, and getting my backpack and locker randomly searched by him for no reason besides to make sure I'm not hiding anything. I decided to pay for school myself because of 1, not being stressed over getting screamed at, and 2, I didn't feel like constantly worrying that he would disapprove of a class or a grade and decide not to pay, which I could totally see him doing. I'd rather be in debt than controlled for 4 more years. I just finished my first year. Well, my family got together on the 4th and, well, sometimes they're nosy. They were talking about my cousin's school, and my uncle looked at my dad and said, well, how much is my name's school costing you? I said, what are you asking him for? I'm the one paying for it. Later on, my dad was pissed off and said that it was out of line to say that and that I embarrassed him. I didn't do it to embarrass him. I was just being honest. He doesn't even know how much tuition is, so he was the wrong person to ask. Am I the asshole? I think him freaking out in this situation and being embarrassed is his own fault. I don't get why he's pissed off about that. He has absolutely no right to be. You're well within your right to pay for your own tuition and you've given good reason why. So I'm gonna say not the asshole, OP. Lol, not the asshole. I admire you. This 1,000 times over. Props to OP to ditching his dad's toxicity and being his own man. Now his pops has nothing to hold over him, and he can tell him to go kick dirt when he does something toxic again, such as being mad about telling his uncle he's paying for his own school. Not the asshole. If you telling people you pay for your own school embarrasses him, maybe he should take a look at himself and figure out why. Not the asshole. So what if he was embarrassed? His emotions are not yours to manage. You told the truth. Hell, expand on it. Say, yeah, there were too many micromanaging strings attached to accepting money that I didn't want to relive my anxiety-ridden high school years. Also, your dad sounds ridiculous and kinda scary. Maybe low contact is the way to go. Something like, I decided that it wasn't worth my soul to have him pay for college. Sometimes the cheapest way to pay for something is with money. Not the asshole. It's embarrassing to him that you hate his control so much you'd turn down college being paid. And rightly so. He should be embarrassed. Am I the asshole for taking my husband's truck even though he forbade me from using it? So my husband got his truck 6 months ago and is weirdly possessive over it. He drives my car all the time, but will absolutely not let me go near his truck. I'm a fantastic driver with a stellar record, so this isn't about that. He's just recently possessive about his truck. The other day he was sleeping, I'm pregnant, and was really craving watermelon. My car is being worked on, so I figured what he doesn't know can't hurt him. I grabbed his keys and drove to the store to satisfy my watermelon craving. He was working all day and exhausted, so I didn't want to bother him. Well, lo and behold, he was up as I drove back into the driveway and he wasn't happy. He was visibly annoyed and borderline angry that I took his truck without permission. Keep in mind, he takes my car without permission all the time, and I don't mind. I explained that I didn't wake him up and I didn't see the harm. The grocery store is literally a 7-minute drive away. It's been 24 hours and he's still sulking. He says he's disappointed that I breached his trust, but at the time I thought it was a pretty harmless thing to do, but now I'm wondering if I'm the asshole. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I may be the asshole because I inadvertently violated my husband's trust by taking his truck without his permission. I thought it was a harmless thing to do at the time, but now I'm not so sure. I feel like this is a very weird marriage if he is forbidding you from driving his truck, even though you're married to him, and this should be somewhat of a shared asset in my point of view. If he is driving your car all the time, it should be fair that you can drive his truck sometimes. Maybe more communication is needed in this respect, but maybe more common sense and decency is required on his side of the fence. Maybe he shouldn't get angry and pissed off over you driving his truck. You're his wife, he's supposed to be able to trust you. His reaction is way over the top for what you have done in this situation, not the asshole. Now in the comments, Loving Blind says, not the asshole. You are married and expecting. Your resources must be shared. Enjoy your watermelon and share a slice with your husband. And OP replies, thanks. That's how I feel too. 5510 replies, I totally disagree, and I think there is a subtle but important difference. It's one thing to argue that your husband should not have such a strong boundary regarding the use of the truck, and maybe argue that said boundary could be cause for discussion, concern, and maybe couples counseling or whatever. You could argue that your husband may or may not be the asshole for taking such a stand on it. But it's another thing to say that, given that the boundary exists, rightly or wrongly, that you're in the right to just completely ignore it. Absent an emergency, obviously. That's just continuing or even significantly escalating the dysfunction and not at all healthy from a relationship standard. If you aren't okay with him setting this boundary and being that possessive over the truck, then it's your right to address that directly. But it's pretty sketchy to just ignore it or try to sneak around it. Not the asshole. Is the drug stash in the truck? Does he keep his keys to his private second home in there? Maybe the evidence of his secret love child. I work with a bunch of guys who are weirdly possessive of their trucks. They think the truck is very manly and hard to drive, and that it could be easily damaged in the wrong hands. It seems very silly to me, but not indicative of bigger secret keeping. It's hilarious that these guys think their trucks is a big tough symbol of macho manliness, and at the same time, it's super fragile and easy to damage. Oh wait, that makes perfect sense. First of all, he forbade you from driving his truck. What the hell? Is this the 1950s? Second, unless he was going to get his ass up and get his pregnant wife her watermelon, which any good husband would do, he needs to zip it. And third, betrayed his trust is a little dramatic for this situation. You took a 20-minute round trip in his truck for food while he was asleep. You didn't cheat on him or spend all your bill money on shoes. So he needs to chill. So no, OP, not the asshole. Everyone sucks here. An overreaction for sure, but the difference between car usage is that he doesn't mind you using his car, and you don't mind him using yours. If you did mind and had told him, he'd be the asshole for using yours too. That no longer applies when she doesn't have a working car right now and he's busy. In an emergency, I agree. I don't want to dismiss the power of pregnancy cravings, but wanting watermelon isn't an emergency and could have waited until he was awake. Nah, she could have woke his ass up to drive her. Men need to make some sacrifices for their pregnant wives. Our next post is by user Bleep Bleep Baby, titled, "Am I the asshole for leaving a bad review of a business and damaging their reputation?" I feel really bad about this, but part of me thinks I might be in the right. So today, I, female 18, and my friend, female 20, went out for a pampering day. We had booked services at a salon that was rated very highly, 4.9 out of 5 stars. A site compiles lists of salons and lets you book appointments at said places. I had booked an eyebrow threading and a facial. It was my first time trying this technique and I'd heard a lot of good about it. So we got to the salon and everything was going okay. The lady did my right brow and showed it to me to see if I liked the shape, thickness, etc. But when she did the left brow, she didn't show me. I didn't think anything of it in the moment and didn't ask because she had to take care of other customers. The day continued, and my left eyelid was feeling weirdly sore and stingy. I asked my friend if she could have a look for me, and when I removed my glasses, the top hides my lower brow and upper eyelid, she pointed out a fresh, small, 5mm-ish long cut on my eyelid. I didn't have it this morning, and it was exactly where my lid was hurting. When I got home, I wrote a review of the business on the site where I had booked, and I explained that whilst the staff was nice, I didn't find it acceptable that I had to leave the appointment with an injury due to a service I paid for, no matter how small. About 30 minutes later, I got a call from the owner of the salon, who asked why I left the review and didn't go talk to her directly when I noticed in the shop. I explained that I only noticed the cut after I had left. She offered to refund me the service and asked me to take the review down. I refused both. She said that it was damaging her small business's reputation and it might cost them clients, especially after being hit by the pandemic. I said I was sorry that she was hurt, but that I left an honest review, and clients deserve to be aware of this kind of thing before buying a service. It's been a fair few hours, and I feel bad because businesses were hit hard by the pandemic, and I would also feel bad if my business had such a review on a very public site. But my friend is on my side. She also pointed out that I had a facial after when I had creams and scrubs rubbed all over my face, including my eyelid, which could be a hazard, and maybe why my eyelid is still hurting nearly 12 hours later. I don't know what to think anymore. Am I the asshole, Reddit? Now in the comments, Inevitable Mastodon 1 says, "You would be the asshole if you left it as it is. The owner has contacted you to try and find an acceptable solution. I think that's a good response. She has an unhappy customer and wants to make it right. If you consider this to be good response, then maybe change your review to reflect that. That way, it is an honest review of how they dealt with a problem, rather than just focusing on the problem. This. You can still meet the owner halfway. Those reviews are also tied to Google's algos, if it was a Google review, and it's really hard to recover. I'm the director of SEO at an enormous company. While I'd also be pissed the owner didn't know about it until the review, you gotta give her a chance to make things right. But they tried to hide the wound by not showing the finished work to OP. They only offered to refund because they were caught and OP left a bad review. If they actually cared, then they would have mentioned the cut to OP and tried to find a solution right after it happened. Look, I see your point, but if the therapist is a different person to the business owner, wouldn't you, as the owner, want to have a chance to rectify the problem with the customer directly and be able to raise the issue with the therapist to prevent it happening again? That's a fair point, and I didn't think of that. Thank you for bringing that up. Info. Did you edit your review to include the fact that the owner reached out to apologize to you personally and offer you a refund? And OP replies, many commenters suggested it and I tried, but I used Treatwell, not Google reviews. So I wasn't able to edit my review or take it down to write a new one, which in my opinion kinda sucks if someone is in my situation and wants to edit the review. Because despite seeing other reviews of clients that received small injuries at the salon, I don't know what the situation was for those clients. But I do think that she tried to make it right somewhat, and whilst I didn't find her tone super friendly, I again don't know what could have been going on. We all have days where we aren't in the best mood. I see she tried to find a way to make it right by me. I just can't get over you calling a small cut an injury. My nail salon sometimes overfiles my cuticles and they bleed. It's not an injury, it's an annoyance at best. A brow place once burned my under eyebrow area, and I still didn't leave a review because things like this really don't matter in the grand scheme of my life, whereas a review matters big in the grand scheme of theirs. People who review and complain prior to letting the business fix it are the worst, full stop. Not the asshole. I don't get why people think you need to change a review just because the owner tried to make it right. Like, what the hell? They only reached out because it makes them look bad, not because they actually felt bad about it. You were honest, and you were injured by the service. What is giving your money back going to do to fix it? Even if it was a rare event, then the reviews will show that to potential customers when yours is the only one that mentions an injury. Yup. When will business owners learn that reviews are for the sake of the customers, not free advertisement for them? I would want to know if such incidents have happened before at the place that I'm about to visit. If they did a good job, then they deserve a good review, and vice versa. Our next post is by user AmITheA, titled, Would I be the asshole if I took my 16-year-old brother on a tour of Auschwitz against his will? So, I've not always had full custody of my brother, who is significantly younger than me. For a number of years, he was in the care of an individual who was not particularly kind to him. This individual has some controversial opinions and perspectives, and as a result, my brother has had to unlearn some problematic behaviors. This is a work in progress. Now, shortly before Christmas, he and his friends got into trouble at school for photoshopping a teacher who apparently resembles Anne Frank into a photograph of Auschwitz. They were dealt with appropriately at the time. He wrote an apology letter and was asked to write a report on the diary of Anne Frank. I sincerely believe he now understands why what he did was wrong, and we had a long conversation about his involvement in the incident at the time. At the time, I told him that when it was safe to travel, we would go to Auschwitz so that he could better understand what he was joking about. He expressed that he didn't want to go. He stated that he already knew about the Holocaust and that he thought that it was wrong. He told me that he didn't need to hear any more about it to know that it was an awful thing. I still feel it's important to take him. Now that travel is safer, I'm arranging to take him on a tour of Auschwitz. He isn't happy. He's currently off school and wants to enjoy his summer. He's had a difficult time of it in the last few months, and he does deserve to enjoy his summer, but I feel that it's still important to take him on the trip. These are important years in his development, and the things he learns now will shape the person he becomes later. I want to challenge and educate him. Another parent I often confide in told me that she appreciates my intention, but that a tour of a concentration camp is pretty extreme punishment. She told me that it is an upsetting experience. I've been myself and I know that it is, and taking a 16-year-old who already suffers with mental health problems is unfair. My brother himself has stated that he does not want to go, and that he was already punished for the photoshopping incident. He feels that it isn't fair to bring it up again, and that it's embarrassing to go on a trip to Auschwitz over the summer, particularly when his friends are going to be posting about their summer trips on Instagram. He feels that he'll have to explain why he isn't doing that this year. I can see both of their points, but this doesn't necessarily have to be a punishment. I'm still concerned about some of the political statements my brother makes, and I want this to be educational. I know he is capable of growth. He has friends from different backgrounds, and whilst he is very religious himself, he's accommodating of other faiths. I think he could make a lot of progress on this trip. Would I be the arsehole if I took him? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I think I might be the arsehole because he's still a child, and he does have mental health issues that make him more vulnerable than most boys his age. This trip might not be appropriate for him, but in my judgment, it is a risk worth taking. He did very well at school in these last few months in spite of some personal challenges, and this does seem like a punishment to him that may make him feel like his progress has gone unnoticed. He deserves to enjoy his summer and spend time with friends, but this trip won't take up all of that time. And I agree with you there, OP. I do think it is a risk worth taking, and I do feel like this is something that will help open his eyes if he is made to be in a situation like this. He's 16, and 16-year-olds do stupid things like he has done in this example. I was 16 once. I did stupid things in that age. I know what it's like. This doesn't seem like a punishment to me. This seems more like education as to why what he did was as bad as it is. Not the arsehole OP. Now in the comments, Echo Kilo Echo 1 says, not the arsehole. A trip to Auschwitz is an unparalleled educational experience. For everyone, but especially for someone who makes a joke, like your brother did. The only problem I see is that you're framing it as punishment. This is not a punishment. It is education, and essential education, as those who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. On a population scale, of course. I'm not saying your brother is going to recreate the Holocaust. Frankly, the fact that he views it as punishment is exactly why he needs to go. Living through the Holocaust, being imprisoned at Auschwitz, that was horrific and punishing. Learning about it is not. This is a learning experience, and an excellent one at that. If I were in your shoes, I'd probably take the opportunity to do a lot more on the trip as well, if possible. It's a great opportunity to see and experience other things, and doing so will give him some Instagrammable moments and reinforce that learning about the Holocaust isn't a punishment. This, I agree, not the arsehole. His unwillingness to go seems to be for all the wrong reasons. It is not punishment, and only someone who doesn't understand how wrong his comments, beliefs, and jokes are would see it as punishment. I would still advise you to be careful and gentle about this. You might just do more harm than good if you force him. Someone suggested visiting some more interesting places on the trip. Poland is beautiful. He could pick out some Instagram-worthy locations if he actively participates in the Auschwitz trip and tries to learn what he can. Might be a good way to bond for you two. You might have more influence if you two are closer. Best of luck to you, and it's so good to hear that you're actively trying to get those unwholesome ideas out of your brother's system. Not the arsehole. I've been there. It's incredibly moving and is a place that everyone should go to once, so they truly understand the evil atrocities that were carried out. Your brother may well have been joking, but one harmless joke can lead to other jokes about such things. I think you would be teaching him a very valuable life lesson by bringing him there. And not the arsehole. He doesn't need to be embarrassed. It's a trip to Poland. He can choose to show off other elements of the trip on social media. The tour is 1 day. Surely a single day won't ruin his entire summer. Of course he's aware of the Holocaust. Of course the school has already punished him, but it's evident that it's not really real for him. He understands it in a textbook academic sense, but touring it will make it real for him, and that is so important. Info. How are you sure that he'll be respectful there? I've seen enough people there being disrespectful. And OP replies, good question. I'm confident he would be respectful. He attends church and has a good understanding of how to behave in sacred or otherwise special locations. We have a family friend who follows Islam, and we attended an event at the mosque last year. He was happy to take off his shoes and behave respectfully. He is very willing to respect other customs and cultures, and he has come a long way with that. That's interesting. What you've described really doesn't sound at all like someone who would make a joke about sending a Jew to Auschwitz. I'm Jewish, and there have been Holocaust jokes that I've laughed at because they were genuinely just funny, and said with zero malice. But photoshopping a Jewish or any person into Auschwitz really isn't funny in my opinion. Maybe those friends aren't a great influence, in which case, some time traveling with you might be good for him in many ways. If so, that makes it all the more important for the trip to involve fun stuff as well. And back to the post, OP says, I would like to reply to everyone who has offered valuable insights, but there are too many comments to address individually this morning. Thank you for offering your feedback. You have each given me something to think about, and my conscience is clearer. To alleviate some of the most common concerns, I believe that he would cope well, but I will get the opinion of his care team before we go ahead. I would never intentionally reverse his progress. We will explore other areas of Poland. I've visited before, and we do have family in the country, who he has not yet had the opportunity to visit. The trip will not be exclusively about Auschwitz, and I will consider ways that I can make the rest of the trip fun for him. I resent the implications by the minority that I would beat or drug my brother to ensure he attended. Please think before you speak. I am his legal guardian, and he is capable of cooperation, however grudging. Finally, I would like to note that he's a product of his circumstances, and whilst this may appear to be parental bragging, he is, at his core, a good kid with potential for growth. He is not entirely the nightmare that I may have inadvertently depicted. Am I the asshole for not wanting my husband's last name for our kids? So before my husband and I were married and were discussing marriage, I told him I wouldn't change my last name. He said fine at the time, and I assumed that's because he thought that I would change my mind, which I didn't. I could tell his family didn't like it, but they've never come out and said anything to me about it. I generally get along with his family. I am now pregnant, and my husband and I are arguing about what the last name will be. I just plain don't like his last name. It's very common, almost as common as Smith. He wants his, saying he's an only child and the family name will die. His parents are divorced, so his maternal side is saying that it will hurt his dad's feelings if we didn't use that last name. His dad kicked him out when he was a minor because that's what his new wife wanted, who he also eventually divorced. His maternal side's family name also dies out. I've told him I would do that name, but that's not good enough. And when I ask why, all he can come up with is, I don't know, because. As an edit, I was told by my doctor that I had a low probability of being able to conceive, which I obviously told him when we first started dating. We've been together for 9 years. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I told my husband I didn't care if it hurts his family's feelings. I don't want the baby to have that last name because it sucks. Now in the comments, Traumatized Trashbag says, everyone sucks here. Hyphenate, compromise, go to counseling, do something. This is a joint decision. You don't get to decide his name isn't good enough and use yours and expect him to be fine with it. Hyphenate is the best option. Then when the child is an adult, they can decide what they want to do if and when they marry. I can't wait for the Am I the Arsehole in the future. I'm Ted Johnson Phillips and my wife Jane Herman DeSanta are getting married and she's pregnant. What do we do? I say no arseholes here, both want the same thing and both have reasons for why. Might as well just flip a coin because no matter what, not everyone will be happy regardless. Also, the takeaway I got was she doesn't want it to be her name. She just really doesn't want it to be his, so double-barreled would still have his name. Everyone sucks here. At first I was leaning towards no assholes, but the way you're both arguing rather than looking for a solution that honors both of your desires just sucks. This is really something y'all should have discussed before dragging an innocent baby into your stubborn gatekeeping. Seriously, this is a major issue that should have been worked out a long time ago. It was not far into my relationship with my now husband when I had a conversation where I made it clear that I'd never change my name. He said, okay, but I want a kid with my name. And I said, cool, we should have two so I can have one with mine. And this is what we have now. I don't know what we'd have done if we had difficulty conceiving and struggled to have a second. But the point is, you talk about the things that matter to you. And RMM035 says, everyone sucks here. How did you end up not talking about this when you chose to keep your name? The fact that you didn't take his name because, or at least partially because, you just didn't like his name should have immediately led to, I also don't want our kids to have your last name either. But you also need to recognize how horrible a thing it is to tell someone, especially your partner, that you don't like their name. You married this guy, including his name. Coming out with this now is pretty backhanded and obviously offensive. So no matter what the kid's last name is, you owe him an apology. But as for your baby, maybe you hyphenate? Smith other name is much less common than Smith. If you can't work this out, it's probably time for couples counseling. And while you're at it, it's time to discuss other important child-related things like schooling, religion, expectations about childcare, etc. The two of you clearly haven't discussed some pretty significant topics. Our next post is by user Am I the Asshole Throwaway Sleep, titled, Am I the asshole for telling my wife that if she wants to bed share, she needs to sleep in the kids' beds? So my wife and I have been together for 6 years. She has a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. When we first got together, they were both still in her bed. They were both relatively small and I worked nights. It was never an issue. Last year, I suffered a work injury and now have to sleep on a memory foam mattress. I assumed by now that both kids would have grown out of co-sleeping, but obviously haven't. I can't comfortably sleep in a bed with 2 kids, especially because my stepson, 9, is a little ninja. He is constantly kicking during the night. They will occasionally sleep in their own beds, but very rarely. My stepdaughter is a little better, but stepson will have meltdowns if we try and send him to his own bed. My wife doesn't believe we should force them out, which I understand, but I can't keep sleeping on the couch when they're in the bed. A couple days ago, I blew up over it. My back is killing me, and I'm tired. I essentially told her to take the kids and sleep in one of their beds. I need the comfortable mattress for my back. We never really got to discuss it because stepson got upset and started crying. That night, she took the kids to her parents for the night, and back at home, she explained that they wouldn't all fit in one of the kids' beds. She agreed that I could have the big bed, but is ordering a memory foam mattress for our son's bed so I can sleep there comfortably. I don't want to sleep in a kid's bed. I want my bed, and I'd like to actually spend a night with my wife. Her parents are on her and the kids' side, obviously. But I still don't think I should have to give up my bed for them, in the nicest way possible, because I paid for it. The issue is getting worse, and my in-laws are now calling me abusive for trying to take their comforts. So am I the asshole? Important info, both kids and my wife are ASD diagnosed, stepson also has ADHD. Now in the comments, not the asshole. I also think it's problematic for your wife to expect you to sleep night after night with a teenage daughter. That aside, kicking you out of your own bed so she can sleep with a teen and a tween is a strange dependency on her part. Is she planning on moving into their dorm rooms or going on their honeymoons in the future? Just know. Time to grow the kids up and have an adult relationship with her husband. Not the asshole. Yikes. I watched my mum force my dad to sleep on the couch their entire marriage because she'd rather have a kid in her bed. I was the oldest and slept with her until I was 10. I'm an adult now, and I still have a hard time sleeping if I'm home alone. It made things worse for me. Eventually, my dad got fed up and divorced her. Rule number 1 for my husband and I when we had kids was no kids in the bed, with the exception of nightmare or sick kid or something. Kids need their own space and adults need their own space. They have to learn about privacy and boundaries. Even if the kid isn't comfortable with it, I was an early riser as a child and my mum taught me to play in my room until they were up. I'm thankful she did that, otherwise I would have struggled to be on my own. Practical advice. I have co-slept with my kids, 2 of whom are not neurotypical and didn't self-wean with the co-sleeping. The way we weaned them was to first put a single bed in our room close to our bed for them to sleep in at night. That way they were right next to us but in their own bed. Then we moved the bed away from ours and up against another wall. Then we moved the bed into their room and had them start every night in their room and in their bed, but had an air bed and blankets on the floor next to my side of the bed for them to come into if they needed. Then eventually the air bed was removed, and if they wanted to sleep in our room, they had to grab some cushions off the couch and bring them in. It honestly took well over a year of very, very slowly getting them used to and comfortable with each stage. And even now my 13-year-old occasionally comes and sleeps on the couch in our room. But with patience and a gentle approach, it can be done in such a way that you have your bed and mattress from the outset, and they aren't forced into a situation that they aren't mentally or emotionally ready to deal with. Our next post is by user Pickle Weasel Nene, titled, "Am I the asshole for talking about my aunt's watermelon ass?" So my son and his friend put up a tire swing in the yard for my grandchild. I posted a picture of me swinging on it on Facebook. My aunt commented on it saying, "I hate skinny people." Now, I'm not one for Facebook drama, so instead of commenting back, I called her. I basically said that I don't talk about her watermelon ass, so she shouldn't be talking about my weight. Now all my aunts, 5 of them, are mad at me because apparently skinny people can't be body shamed, and that I should have told her first that I don't like those comments instead of straight out calling her out on her watermelon ass like I did. I don't think I'm the asshole because it's not like I told her that I'm skinny, because my sisters and I have always exercised more, so we didn't inherit the family's watermelon ass. But skinny is also something I didn't have to really work for. It's just how I am. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I believe I might be the asshole because I should have spoken to her about it first, even though she should have known better. Now in the comments, everyone sucks here, but I'd upvote twice if I could, because this story is hilarious. Next time, don't go down to her level. Everyone sucks here, but you were far more justified than her watermelon ass was. I disagree because OP did it privately, where the aunt did it publicly. It would be an everyone sucks here if OP did it publicly. Insulting and fat-shaming people privately is not an asshole move? But skinny shaming is still body shaming, and that was done publicly. In my honest opinion, talking crap should be done privately. Auntie brought it upon herself. I wouldn't have done the same, but I don't think OP is the asshole. Maybe a jerk, but not the asshole. Everyone sucks here, including me because I can't stop laughing at watermelon ass. Not the asshole. I'm a skinny person myself. We can't talk about our struggles without comments, backhanded compliments, looks, etc. Your aunt started the drama by acting like a little 14-year-old troll and commenting on your picture for no apparent reason except to be the asshole. Of course your other aunts, who probably share the same body type, are going to defend her. But you also could have just as easily commented back on the post, yet instead chose to call her. She should be thankful she's not getting called out for skinny shaming on your page. And OP replies, they sort of all have the same body type. Dad has 7 sisters, but only 5 are still alive. A couple of them aren't overweight, but all 7 have, or had, that watermelon ass. Me and my sisters have always called it the family watermelon ass, so it kind of slipped out. Our next post is by user MissTishYo, titled, Am I the Asshole? I told an old friend her fiancé was a catfish, and she said I ruined her life. So years ago, I had a casual friendship with a lady at church. We'll call her Sally. Now, we are Facebook friends and have 20 plus friends in common. A few months ago, she posted that she had a new love in her life. Then she posted a photo of an engagement ring and said that she was engaged. We all sent congratulations, however, she never answered comments from us asking how they met, when they were getting married, etc. She said she was going to become the stepmom to his 13-year-old. She is 70. A mutual friend messaged Sally and was told a long tale about this fiancé. They never met in person, he was from Europe working in Canada, had a thick accent, was widowed, and they used Google Hangouts. All obvious signs of a love scam. A few days pass and a new Facebook profile appears with this fiancé. A quick reverse image search proved the man on the profile picture was not this fiancé. We were concerned our friend would be the victim of a financial scam. She is elderly and on a tight fixed income. We shared the evidence with Sally via private message as gently as we could. She reacted by going on a tirade about how we shattered her world, plotted against her, and gossiped to all her friends. We didn't. We shared our findings with no one, and said that we took away her only happiness in life, and now she is separated from the fiancé. We wanted to protect her from being scammed out of her money. Are we the assholes? Personally, no, I don't agree with the notion that you would be the assholes in this instance. I feel like you did her a great service by uncovering this scam and showing her that, look, you're being taken advantage of. I know that you're lonely and you need company right now, and that this was the only happiness that you've had recently, but it's not worth your financial security. I don't know how you can prove to her that you weren't gossiping and everything, but it's understandable that her knee-jerk reaction was to do this. Yes, it's better for her in the long run, but in the short run, her happiness and her coping mechanism is taken away, and so many promises of something that she wanted are taken away. It's understandable she's upset. So, not the asshole. Now in the comments, the Meowmer says, not the asshole, but she's probably heartbroken to discover this. You definitely helped her in the long run, but maybe give her some time to process everything. This is probably hard for her. And OP replies, yes, we are backing off 100% while she processes this. Adding to this, she may be very embarrassed about it too, especially since it's coming after she announced her relationship on Facebook and now probably has to answer questions on why it's over. Exactly. She'll eventually calm down and see that it's for the best. It's honestly really great, the progress you already made. Many people, especially otherwise smart people, will double down and go into denial when confronted with the idea that they fell for a scam. They will try to justify why they believed it, and in doing so, will justify the scam itself. Your friend probably has a ton of strong negative emotions that she needs to face and deal with right now. Shame and embarrassment and heartbreak. You still did the right thing. It's a band-aid that needs to be torn off and cleaned ASAP. Hopefully she'll appreciate what you did someday. And OP replies, thank you. She said he never asked her for money. I don't believe her. But even if that's true, he still lied about his entire identity. I don't know if she will come around or appreciate me, but she's kind of a bitter lady to begin with. But maybe. Look, even if he hadn't asked for money, he definitely would have in the future. Scammers are heartless and will drain someone dry. You did the right thing, not the asshole. Not the asshole. You aren't an asshole. The fake fiancé is clearly an asshole and a catfishing scammer. Sally is, somewhat understandably, having an emotional time dealing with her happy idea crumble around her. The lashing out does not make her an asshole, but that's very much a reaction to save face, which I would take as forgivable. Dopey replies, lol, she was kind of an asshole, that is true. I mean, it's inappropriate for her to lash out at you. She's understandably and forgivably angry to my read though. None of you guys are the assholes, nor is Sally. It seems like her world is shattered, and yet you all did nothing wrong. Seems like you actually protected her from possible financial abuse. It's understandable she might be angry, but her anger shouldn't be at the messengers. It should be at the catfish. I'd just explain that bit to her. That while her feelings are valid and while she clearly does carry some pain, it wasn't done with the intention of hurting her. You did it with the intention of helping her. It's not plotting against her, otherwise you'd have just let her do her own thing. Not the asshole at all. And OP replies, "Thank you. Your comment is so helpful. I didn't even put that together in my head, but you said it perfectly, that her anger was pointed at the wrong party. Look, you did nothing wrong, but she's probably mortified and angry. Do not bring it up again and give her space." Our next post is by user MainPromise1566, titled, "Am I the asshole for saying, 'I'll see you there' to my ex's aunt, telling me that I'm going to hell?" So my ex's aunt and uncle help my ex care for our child on his time. Aunt is deeply fundy religious and loves to preach to anyone and tell non-religious people they're going to hell if they don't find salvation and get to praying. Now, I'm not religious, but I don't care if others are. Aunt had been telling my child that mummy is going to hell and will never go to heaven because I don't go to church and pray like she does. I had mostly brushed that off and told my child that mummy will be okay. My ex is an atheist and I doubt she says the same about him. Ex's aunt has now started saying it to my face that I'm going to hell. I was feeling cheeky, so I gave her my best smile and said, "Wonderful, I'll see you there." Obviously, the aunt found this to be incredibly disrespectful and offensive, as she has dedicated her life to the church. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, not the asshole. It's polite to RSVP to plans. My usual response when told by a zealot that I'm going to hell is, "You first." Mine is, "Fortunately, you don't get to decide." Usually shuts them up since they shouldn't be judging. Not the asshole. Good for you. She's hurting your child deliberately. She knows that saying this is not going to convert you, she's doing it to freak out your child. Why does your ex need help caring for his own kid on his parenting time anyway? Might be worth looking into whether you can get these damaging individuals barred from being around your child. And OP replies, "We have a week-by-week schedule. X is a truck driver in state, but goes to work between 3 to 4 a.m., so our child stays overnights with the aunt and uncle on my ex's week, and X spends times with kiddo for a few hours in the evenings." Do you think the aunt is really fit, though, to care for anyone's kids with that attitude and behavior? I hope your child is old enough to advocate for themselves. Being stuck with a grumpy elder lady who was smack-talking their mum has got to be uncomfortable at best. And OP replies, "Kiddo is 7 and just finished 1st grade. Not the asshole. Who in their right mind tells a child that their mum is going to hell? Someone on my ex's side told my daughter that. She was so upset, she was crying to me about it. I got on the phone and told him to figure out who it was because Satan wouldn't be their biggest problem after I got done with him. Luckily, X isn't a complete asshole and he ripped the family member a new one. They are not allowed to see our daughter, and his mum, who is his childcare, is fully on board." Am I the asshole for telling my wife to bring my youngest daughter with her? So I have 2 daughters, Elise, who is 15, and Addie, who is 4. Addie is also my wife's daughter, and Elise is from a previous relationship. Elise used to only visit every other weekend, but 2 years ago, her mum died and she moved in with us. Since then, my wife has taken Elise out once a week to get lunch and dinner, and shop or get their nails done, or to go to the beach, as well as taking Elise out for ice cream or hot cocoa after her therapy sessions. My wife takes Addie out, but not as much as Elise, and when they go out, it's usually just to the park, then for ice cream or to the zoo. They are planning an overnight trip to a beach town a few hours away for Elise's birthday, and Addie is upset that she doesn't get to go. So I told my wife to bring Addie with her. My wife said Addie wouldn't like most of the stuff they do together, and even if she did, all of her attention would be on Addie and making sure she doesn't run off or get hurt. I told my wife that Addie is upset about not getting to go out with them, and she needs to make it fair. But she snapped and said that Addie gets the majority of her attention every day, and this is making it fair to Elise. She left and is refusing to talk about this again, so I wanted to know if I was the asshole. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I might be the asshole because this is Elise's and my wife's special thing, and having Addie there would mess it up. I think she's given enough reason here to believe that what she's doing is the right thing, and that she does give Addie a lot of attention at home. I don't get how you can see that Elise probably needs a lot more help, given the fact that one of her parents have died, and you turn this around on her and your wife and say, you need to include the 4-year-old child more often. How dare you guys be so greedy as to not include our 4-year-old when our 15-year-old is grieving the loss of a parent and is needing therapy and alone time, or just one-on-one time with a parent. I don't understand why you have such an issue with this, OP. I feel like you are the arsehole in this situation and you need to leave both of them alone. You're the arsehole. Now in the comments, Cascapelis says, you're the arsehole. Good lord, your wife is being a great stepmom to your teenage daughter who just lost her mum. Small kids get upset about not being able to do the same things their older siblings do, and that's normal. You as a parent have to deal with Addie's disappointment. This is also normal. It's part of being a parent. You now have a gift, the chance to spend time with your little girl one-on-one. Make it a daddy-daughter weekend. Do fun stuff, build stuff, make stuff, put a putter in her hands, whatever. The weekend Addie has is now up to you. Can you make it fun for her? Maybe he just doesn't want to babysit. Look, I know it's implied in your statement, and I am so here for it, but let me outright state it, since OP appears to be pretty dense or in denial, or both. It is not babysitting if they are your kids. 15 is a tough age. The things she will want to do and talk about with mum are not made better by the presence of a 4-year-old, and it's a birthday thing. Yeah, you're wrong here. A better option would be a daddy plus little one plan for special things during that time, and the promise that when she's a teen, she will have similar mum time. And Odena's very own says, everything else aside, it's Elise's birthday. Why do we need to include a 4-year-old in the birthday plans of a 15-year-old? The attention will of course be on the 4-year-old. The things she does with Elise, Addie is not old enough to do. They aren't the same age. They have different interests and needs in life, and it sounds like your wife is trying to cater to them both where they are. I don't even understand why you have a problem. You're the asshole. And also, it is extremely important to have the same kind of personal relationship with your dad. I hope you're also doing things like this with the girls. My dad died when I was Elise's age, and he was my best friend. He had 7 girls, and we all felt like the favorite child because he made sure we all felt his love and treated us as individuals. From the little things like getting ice cream one-on-one, or taking you to see your favorite concert, or out on date night. Be that dad for them. Our next post is by user Throw354235, titled, Am I the asshole for telling my fiancé she's either with me or against me in this conflict? So my fiancé, female 24, and I, male 27, got engaged in May, and are currently planning for our wedding in August. It's worth mentioning that I'm the sole earner because my fiancé is still in university. I have saved up a decent amount of money to afford the wedding. The thing is, her parents get involved in everything, from picking the engagement ring on my behalf, to giving opinions on where we should rent, and now my future mother-in-law is constantly giving opinions on our wedding. Future mother-in-law would follow up on everything we do, and make negative comments on things like the best man, the guest list, and food. She told my fiancé she didn't like who I picked to be my best man, and wanted me to replace him after a big argument, but I said no. Though, my fiancé said we should have just done it. Mother-in-law also wanted me to uninvite people that I wanted at the wedding so she could add more guests on her side of the family. I said no to that also. Now the current or biggest conflict between us. Mother-in-law called saying she didn't like the venue we picked, which is in our hometown. She wanted me to reconsider, but I said no since my fiancé liked it too. But my fiancé came to me yesterday to show me a venue that her mum picked and already paid for, saying since she paid for it, that I should say yes this time. I was in shock and angry, because not only did she not consult us, but the venue she picked is 3 towns away where my brother-in-law lives. I immediately thought about my disabled parents who cannot travel this distance for health reasons, and besides that, most of my family won't attend because of distance. I said I am absolutely not agreeing on this venue. My fiancée said she disagreed with me, and I had no right to complain because her mum and dad paid a lot of money for this venue as a wedding gift, and we should accept it. I calmly explained why I refused, and she kept saying I'm refusing on purpose because I hate her mum, and am playing cat and mouse with her. I bluntly said that her mum is indeed making this a game, and told my fiancée she's either with me or against me on this issue. She either backs me up or there won't be any more wedding planning. She got upset and started crying, asking what she's going to tell her mum, and why I was making her choose between me and her parents, but I just feel like she's refusing to see why I don't want this specific venue. So what if her brother lives there? I have never been to that town, so having the wedding just because her mum paid for the venue is not okay. We haven't talked ever since that argument. My friend called me an ungrateful fool for turning away a free wedding venue over distance, but I can't help but feel future mother-in-law did it purposely. So I agree with you in this instance. You absolutely need to take back control of your life, and that starts with standing up to your future mother-in-law. To me, it seems as though your partner is being manipulated, and can't see just how deep this manipulation goes. It's to the point that she's lashing out at you for disagreeing because you're suddenly the bad guy for turning down a free wedding venue that neither of you initially agreed on for this wedding. I would stand my ground if I were you, and continue to fight for both you and your partner, and do what you can to bring her back on your side. It seems like your future mother-in-law only cares about getting her way and using money as leverage. That's morally bankrupt in my opinion, not the asshole OP. Now in the comments, PJ Fan says, "Not the asshole, but this is a very good peek into your future. Your mother-in-law is going to do this all the time about everything, and it doesn't sound like your fiancé has the spine to stand up to her. You need to have a conversation with her about your partnership and her mother. If you are happy to deal with this for the rest of your life, then good luck with the wedding. But if you don't want her interfering with everything, imagine when she becomes a grandmother, then you need to take pause and consider whether this is what you want forever. This 100%. If she runs your wedding, she will have input on your future homes, kids, and their upbringing, and anything you do. She will have an opinion and try to control it. If you accept this, she knows that she's got you, and you'll be posting in Just No Mother-in-Law for the rest of your marriage. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, run OP, run. Your parents not being able to make it to that venue should be a clear deal breaker for your future wife and her parents. The fact that it isn't shows you just how little they value you, your family, and friends. Think about how this plays with buying a home, having children, and raising children. Look how much your future monster-in-law is trying to micromanage your life now. How is it going to be with the babies in the mix? Assuming that's your plan. If you're not planning on having kids, how is that going to go with her? Our next post is by user OKTackle6218, titled, "Am I the asshole for trying to help my daughter lose weight?" So I'm a 34-year-old male, and I have a 12-year-old daughter that we call Susan. She's a wonderful child. When I met her mum, I did my very best to know Susan, because her dad isn't in the picture and has no desire to be. I officially adopted her the day of our wedding, and I surprised her with it so she knew that I was now her dad and she was my daughter. Susan is normally an active kid, but since COVID and now summer break, I've noticed that she will stay on the couch all day watching TV, playing video games, or just do much of nothing. Because of this, she's gaining a very noticeable amount of weight. I spoke to my wife about it, but she says Susan is fine and it's summer, so it's okay if she wants to watch TV and eat junk food. I get that, but I don't want Susan to develop an unhealthy habit. So I created the father-daughter walk to get her moving a bit. We talk about the day, what's going on, things we would like to do, and so on for about 30 minutes. Slowly, I turned the walk into a jog, then a run. Susan struggled at first, but now she can keep up with me. I love it since she's getting a bit of workout every day, and I get to spend time with her. Well, my wife isn't happy. She confronted me saying I was fat-shaming our daughter and forcing her to exercise when she's a kid. Kids are supposed to watch TV and eat junk food. She's telling Susan that she doesn't have to come for a run with me, buys large amounts of Susan's favorite snacks, and is encouraging her to binge-watch TV and just be a kid. She says I'm trying to push lifestyle habits onto my daughter, and I'm embarrassed of her. It's led to a couple arguments, and now she's saying she might send Susan to go stay with her grandparents for the rest of summer. I'm just trying to help her become more active. Am I the asshole? Edit, I just wanted to clear up something. I never posted on Reddit before, so I thought I had all the context I needed for this. My apologies. For those who were saying that she's not my daughter, I adopted Susan. I kept it a secret till her mum and I exchanged vows, and then we called her up so we could tell her. Susan is my daughter, and will be till the day I die. I don't force her to come with me. One day I said, hey, want to go for a walk with me? Things moved from there, and now Susan can run circles around me. She'll even call me an old man if I don't keep up. My wife was welcome to come. At first she was, then she said she liked having us out of the house so she can relax and have a break. That's fine. If Susan says, Dad, I don't feel like going today, I don't force it. I just go by myself. I've never mentioned her weight or food to her because she's 12. Things are hard enough. Before the pandemic, she would be outside all day on her bike, playing with friends, skating and more, till we finally call her inside. I just wanted her to be active again since I noticed how much more she would just stay in front of the TV, computer, and do nothing. Never do I say or mention her weight, and I do love getting to spend time with her. We talk about her day, friends, plans for the future, what she would do with $1 million, and etc. I honestly don't know where my wife is getting the idea I'm forcing Susan or shaming her. Yes, it's normal for kids to want sweets and to watch TV, but it's also normal for them to play and exercise. I just don't want Susan to sit in one spot all summer. With the new strain of COVID, we don't even know if she'll be going back to school. My wife is a bit heavy, and again, she's welcome to come with us, but always declines. I hope this has cleared some things up in the comments. Edit, I didn't expect this to blow up. I just expected maybe like a few people posting and calling it a day. I'm going to talk to my wife once she calms down and try to approach things gently. I would love for us all to spend some time together as a family. I didn't marry her for her looks. I married her because I love her and I love Susan. I'm going to suggest walks in the park, around the neighborhood, or if she doesn't feel up to that, maybe turning on a video and working out in the living room together. I don't want Susan growing up a body imagine, whatever that means. Possibly my wife did and just hasn't told me about it. Even among spouses, there are things you don't feel comfortable talking about. I hope everyone on this post has a great day. And say to yourself, would you like to go for a walk today? Go for a walk. Enjoy sun, nature, and your community. Take a friend, the dog, a cat, a family member, or just bring your headphones. You are never too old or too young to start a good, healthy habit. Even if you just walk for 15 minutes, please know that I'm proud of you and we can always do more tomorrow. You're doing a great job. Good people of Reddit, I must go for now. I hope all of you know that I'm proud of you. Sometimes in life that is all you need to hear. I learned that people don't always say what's on their mind or what they're going through. We don't always know every detail of their backstory, and that is okay. Just continue to encourage them, be proud of them, and tell them you're doing a great job. Be someone's dad or be your own dad, just so long as you do your best. I am proud of you all, both young and old. I will always be proud, and I know you will accomplish much. Now, in the comments, Realistic Nebula 5961 says, "Not the asshole. How is you going for a run, pushing lifestyle habits on her, but mum buying junk food isn't? You didn't fat shame her. You created an activity for both of you to do together, and unless you left significant facts out, she likes it. So yeah, unless she had to be coaxed into running with you and hates it, not the asshole. A healthy, active lifestyle is the best thing to push on your kid." Also, to be honest, Susan sounds a bit depressed. Who wouldn't be? And activity can help brain chemistry. This. It's okay to take a break once school is over. I was once in her position, and I really would have liked my parents to help me the way that you're trying to help Susan to get back on her feet. Also, it's really good to establish this kind of healthy habit at a young age. It'll probably stay with her forever and help her keep her physical and mental health in shape. Not the asshole. It's 30 minutes and you do it with her. I think that's a nice way to bond. I'm wondering if that's the problem. Mum is jealous. Maybe the daughter has shared how much she enjoys time with her dad. Not just the time with dad, but if mum is struggling with weight issues, she could feel fat-shamed by proxy, so she's taking her issues out on the daughter by accusing the OP of fat-shaming. OP isn't the arsehole, but mum might need some counselling to deal with her own issues before the daughter ends up paying for them. It feels like mum is projecting a bit. If dad is encouraging activity without talking about weight, I don't see the issue here. It's great bonding time too, not the arsehole. Okay, so I was ready to bring the pitchforks at the title, but you never said anything negative to Susan. You turned your concerns into a healthy bonding activity that is in no way excessive, not the arsehole. But can you talk to your wife? Like, when you're not mad. This seems like she might be reacting to a trauma background with an ED or something. And OP replies, "I have tried, but each time she shuts me down and says that I'm shaming Susan, not letting her be a kid, etc. If something happened to her as a child, I don't know about it. It just starts fights, and I don't want Susan to see constant fighting." Our next post is by user FrostyDetective4726, titled, "Am I the asshole for not allowing my son to move out and interfering in his life?" So my son, Aaron, male 21, has been with his partner Joe, male 21, since around November 2019. And I, without a doubt, will say that he is the worst thing that has ever happened to him. I wanted to like him, but he is rude and arrogant, and you struggle to get a word in when Joe is around. Aaron has always had struggles with judging people's character. He is so trusting and a little naive, and this meant that he often moved around friendship groups in school because of drama. Still, Aaron found his feet and got out of that cycle. He went to university, and I am so proud, especially as he struggles with anxiety and initially found being away from home hard. But when Joe came into his life, it all seemed to go wrong again. He would call me, crying, wishing to come home because they were fighting, and then the next minute he calls me to say that he overreacted, everything was fine, that I shouldn't worry, and to please not hold this over Joe. Aaron's brother Jamie knows more of the details because Aaron feels more comfortable telling him, but is unaware of some of the things that Jamie has shared with me. Jamie claims that Aaron's friends were worried too, and that Aaron barely went out, citing anxiety flare-ups. Now, I don't know if it was just normal fighting and MH struggles, or if there's something else going on, because Joe always seemed to be the one going out with friends and others and informing them of Aaron's absences for him, which struck me as odd at the time. It was a gut feeling, and I tried discussing it with Aaron, but he'd shut me down, saying he was happy. But the fact was, all the good progress he made just slipped away. He kept asking for assignment deadline extensions, but he brushed it off as uni pressure getting to him. I was concerned, especially as he was not seeing his therapist. The final straw was when Aaron came home to study online during this year. I was appalled to see how thin he'd gotten and how often he was glued to the phone, calling Joe at all hours and for hours at a time. I could barely get him to myself. Then, a friend told Aaron that he'd saw Joe leaving a bar, dressed up, getting into an Uber with someone that none of us know, kissing their cheek, and asked who it was. Aaron had no clue. Joe claimed it was his cousin. Now, I know a lie when I hear one, and I have finally had enough, because something has to give. I called Joe to say plainly that he wasn't welcome in my home, to stay away from my son. And Aaron blew up, calling me a control freak. He threatened to go live with him, but only changed his mind when I said I wouldn't financially support him. I maintained that he has to stay and get his life back together. He says I'm being awful and have no right to do this. Joe is even telling him that I'm being unfair, never gave them a chance, and I'm certain Joe is no good and cheating, and I need my son to stay home. Sometimes it's cruel to be kind. Am I the asshole? I'm gonna say no assholes here in this situation. The only asshole in this situation is your son's partner, but this isn't directly between you and your son's partner. This is between you and your son. Your son isn't wrong for being defensive in this situation, and neither are you of being defensive of your son's well-being. This seems like a toxic situation for your son to be in, and I'm glad that you're there to help him out. I would love to see him getting the help that he needs and getting out of that situation, but only he can really do that. So my judgment, no assholes here. Now in the comments, xpotential31 says, "Wow, not the asshole. You're looking out for your son in what is clearly trying times, and possibly a controlling relationship. Just keep showing your son love and support, and hopefully he'll move on from the toxic Joe." Agreed, not the asshole. The "you're the asshole" judgments are of people who had parents who didn't care, or they are too young to understand. Or who had parents who refused to respect boundaries. It is absolutely fine to discuss all of this with your son, but contacting his boyfriend is way out of line. Exerting this kind of control over a 21-year-old man isn't going to end well. If it doesn't destroy his relationship with OP, it will at least damage it for many years. Maybe Joe is a jerk and cheating, but sometimes you've got to let them make their own mistakes. I'm 45, by the way. And another user, Maury, shares their story and says, "When I was 19, I ran off with a 27-year-old. Got pregnant, was working 2 jobs to support a gambling addict, and had my life destroyed. My mother's constant interfering and attempts to control me pushed me further away and made me dig my heels in and rationalize all the abusive crap that was happening to me. My mother isn't a bad person. I love her for caring so much, but she handled it badly. I responded much better to my father's hands-off approach. After a fight on the phone with my mother about my boyfriend running off with a week's pay, I hung up and went to my job at the mall. I remember sobbing my makeup off as I tried to pull myself together in the crowd of people before I went to work, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a blue figure. I realized that it was following me, and I looked up and it was my dad, quietly walking along next to me. He left work as soon as he heard and came to find me an hour away at a mall that he had never been to, hoping to spot me, then walking quietly until I noticed him. He took me to the food court for some McDonald's like he used to buy every Friday afternoon after the arcade. We sat down and he just listened. He asked me what I wanted to do. He didn't break me down or push me to do it the right way. Within a week, I called him and asked him to come get me. I would never have called my mother. Admitting she was right was admitting that I was stupid and in over my head, and that he really didn't love me and I was having a baby with a narcissist. I wasn't ready to face that. Sometimes you gotta let them make their own mistakes and give them an opportunity to come to you. Don't just abandon them to their fate or hold your tongue completely. I'm a mother to a 21-year-old myself now. That baby I was pregnant with is all grown up now. It's hard when they're hurting themselves, it's hard when other people hurt them, but I've found a lighter hand works best. Thanks, Dad. And edit, and thanks, Mom. I know you were doing what you thought was right, and I'm glad you're my best friend. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.